Commander Jake Martinez pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation window. Outside, alien ships moved through space like giant metal fish. Their hulls glowed with strange lights that hurt his eyes if he looked too long. These ships had been watching Earth for as long as anyone could remember. Jake was 42 years old and had spent half his life on this space station. The station floated between Earth and Mars, a small metal dot in the endless black. It was supposed to be a place where humans and aliens could meet and talk. But mostly, the aliens just watched. The door behind him slid open with a soft hiss. Elena Rodriguez walked in, carrying a cup of coffee that smelled like home. She was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, which meant she spent most of her time listening to aliens tell humans what they could and could not do. Still watching them? Elena asked. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had been doing this job for 20 years. Someone has to, Jake said. He did not turn around. They never sleep. Never stop watching. Elena stood next to him at the window. The alien ships were beautiful in their own way, but they made Jake feel trapped, like a bird in a cage that was too small. The council sent another message today, Elena said. Her voice was flat, like she was reading from a script. They want us to remember our place in the galaxy. Jake laughed, but there was no joy in it. Our place. You mean sitting here while everyone else fights wars and builds empires? For 300 years, humans had been stuck in their own solar system. The Galactic Council said it was for everyone's safety. Humans were too emotional, they said, too violent, too stupid to handle real war. So Earth got to be the galaxy's pet, safe but useless. Jake had read the history books. When humans first met aliens, they had begged to be part of the galaxy. They wanted to explore, to fight, to build something bigger than themselves. But the council had looked at human weapons and human soldiers and shaken their heads. Too dangerous, they said. Too unpredictable. So humans got to stay home while other species conquered stars and fought epic battles. Earth sent scientists and teachers and artists to other worlds, but never soldiers, never warriors. The council made sure of that. Do you ever wonder what we could do? Jake asked. If they let us fight, I mean. Elena sipped her coffee. Every day, but wondering does not change anything. The communication system buzzed. A voice spoke in the clicking language of the Zeltharians, one of the council's warrior races. Jake did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Something was wrong. Elena moved to the control panel and switched to human language. The voice that came through was shaking with fear. Emergency on Mars Mining Station 7. We have a crash. Repeat, we have a crash. Jake was already moving toward the door. I will get a ship ready. Wait, Elena said. She was listening to more reports coming through the system. The pilot is alive but badly hurt. It is a Zeltharian warrior. Jake stopped. Warriors from fighting races rarely came to human space. When they did, it usually meant trouble. 2 hours later, Jake was standing in the medical bay on Mars. The mining station was a small place. Just a few hundred people who dug rare metals out of the red rock. They were good people, but they were not used to dealing with dying aliens. The Zeltharian was huge, nearly 7 feet tall with skin like gray leather. His breathing was shallow and his yellow eyes were dim. Ben Clark, the chief mining engineer, stood next to the medical bed looking worried. He keeps asking for someone, Ben said. But I cannot understand what he wants. Jake knelt next to the alien. He had learned some Zeltharian during his military training, back when humans still thought they might be allowed to fight someday. What do you need? Jake asked in the clicking language. The warrior's eyes focused on him. When he spoke, his voice was like gravel in a metal box. Human ... you must know. The archives ... What archives? The Zeltharian tried to sit up but fell back onto the bed. Blood that was almost black ran from his mouth. Nexus Station. At the edge. The Forbidden's archives. Your people. They don't know. Double quotes. Do not know what? But the warrior was fading fast. His hand shot out and grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. What they really are, he whispered. Then his eyes went dark and he was gone. Ben looked at Jake with confusion. What did he mean? Jake did not answer. He was thinking about the warrior's words, Forbidden's archives. Your people do not know what they really are. It made no sense, but something about it felt important. Dr. Lisa Thompson arrived an hour later. She was Earth's best scientist for studying alien life, and she had come to Mars as soon as she heard about the crash. Lisa was younger than Jake, maybe 35, with red hair and green eyes that missed nothing. She spent the next day studying the dead warrior's body. Jake watched her work, fascinated by how carefully she examined everything. Lisa took samples of blood and skin and ran them through machines that Jake did not understand. On the second day, she called him into her lab. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking. Jake, look at this, she said, pointing to a screen full of numbers and charts. I do not understand what I am looking at. DNA, Lisa said. Genetic information. This warrior has human DNA in his system. Jake stared at the screen. That is impossible. Humans and Zeltharians cannot breed together. Not breeding, Lisa said. This is something else. Like he was exposed to human genetic material somehow. But that should not be possible either. She switched to another screen. I have been running tests on samples from other alien species. The ones we have medical records for. Jake, they all have traces of human DNA, all of them. Jake felt something cold crawl up his spine. How is that possible? I do not know. But there is more. Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. The species with the most human DNA are all the same ones, the warrior races. The ones the Council uses to fight their wars. They stared at each other in silence. Outside, the red dust of Mars swirled in the thin wind. Jake thought about the dying warrior's words. Forbidden's archives. Your people do not know what they really are. That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through the mining station's corridors, thinking. The place was quiet except for the hum of machines that kept the air clean and the lights on. Most of the miners were sleeping. Tired from another day of digging in the hard ground. He found Ben Clark in the communications room, staring at a screen full of star charts. Cannot sleep either? Ben asked. Too much to think about, Jake said. What did you make of what that warrior said? Ben was quiet for a long moment. My grandfather used to tell stories, he said finally. Old stories about humans in space, fighting wars, leading fleets. But they were just stories. What kind of stories? Heroes, Ben said. Human heroes who could inspire any species to follow them into battle. Warriors who never lost a fight. Leaders who could unite enemies and turn them into allies. He laughed, but it sounded forced. Stupid stories. Everyone knows humans are not fighters. Jake was about to answer when the communication system beeped. Someone was sending a message to the station, but it was not coming from Earth or any of the Council worlds. It was coming from empty space. Ben's fingers moved over the controls. The signal is encrypted, he said. But it is using human encryption codes. The message appeared on the screen. In simple text, to Earth Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, the Council fears what sleeping giants might do if awakened. Meet US at coordinates Theta 77. If you want the truth about your species, come alone. Come quickly. Time is running out. Jake and Ben looked at each other. Outside, the alien patrol ships continued their endless watch, making sure humans stayed where they belonged. But for the first time in 300 years, Jake wondered if the watchers were afraid of what they were watching. Elena Rodriguez read the message 3 times before she believed it was real. She sat in her office on the diplomatic station, the words glowing on her screen like a challenge. The Council fears what sleeping giants might do if awakened. She had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 20 years, and no one had ever called humans giants before. Jake Martinez stood behind her chair, his face reflected in the dark window. "It could be a trap," he said. "Everything is a trap these days." Elena replied. She was tired of being careful, tired of asking permission for everything, tired of watching other species make decisions about human lives. The coordinates in the message pointed to a place at the very edge of the galaxy. No ships went there because there was nothing to find. Just empty space and old stories about abandoned stations. But something about the message felt real, desperate, important. Elena made her decision. "We are going." "The Council will be angry," Jake said. "The Council is always angry about something." Dr. Lisa Thompson arrived at the station the next morning. She brought her research about the alien DNA samples and a worried expression. "I ran more tests," she said. "The human genetic material in those samples is old. Very old, maybe thousands of years old." Elena studied the data on Lisa's tablet. She was not a scientist, but she could read numbers. "This suggests humans have been in contact with these species for much longer than our records show." "That is impossible," Lisa said. "Humans only left Earth 300 years ago." "Maybe our records are wrong," Jake said. Ben Clark joined them. From Mars. He was a simple man who fixed machines and dug holes. But he was also the only person who had heard the dying warrior's complete message. "My ship is ready," he said. "It is not much, but it can make the journey." Elena looked at her small team. A military commander who had never fought a real battle. A scientist who had discovered something that should not exist. An engineer who told stories his grandfather probably made up. And herself, a diplomat who spent her days apologizing for humanity's weakness. "If we do this, there's no going back," she said. "The Council will consider it an act of rebellion." "Good," Jake said. "Maybe it is time to rebel." The journey to the coordinates took 4 days. Ben's ship was small and old, built for carrying supplies between Earth and Mars. It shook and rattled as it pushed through hyperspace, but it held together. Elena spent the time reading old history files, looking for any mention of humans in space before the official first contact. She found nothing. The records were complete and consistent. Humans had developed space travel 300 years ago. They had met the Galactic Council 50 years later. They had been restricted to their solar system immediately after that. There was no mention of earlier contact, no hint of a longer history. But Lisa's genetic evidence said otherwise. And the dying warrior's words kept echoing in Elena's mind. "Your people do not know what they really are." On the 4th day, they dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates. At first, Elena saw nothing but stars and emptiness. Then Ben's scanners picked up something huge drifting in the dark. "There," Ben said, pointing at his screen, 15,000 kilometers out. Elena moved to the window. At first, she saw only a dark shape blocking the stars. Then Ben turned on the ship's lights, and she gasped. The station was enormous, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It looked like a metal city floating in space, with towers and domes and structures that hurt to look at. Parts of it were dark and broken, but other sections still glowed with power. "How is something this big still running?" Jake asked. "It is not running," Ben said, studying his instruments. "It is sleeping. But it is responding to our presence. Look." Lights were coming on across the station's hull. Docking bays were opening like mechanical flowers. The station was waking up. "It knows we are human," Lisa whispered. They docked at what looked like a cargo bay. The station's systems guided them in with precision that made Ben shake his head in amazement. "This technology is more advanced than anything the Council has," he said. The air inside the station was breathable. Gravity worked normally. The lights came on as they walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Everything was built to human scale, but it was also built for giants. The ceilings were high, the doorways wide, the corridors broad. Enough for armies to march through. This place was built by humans, Elena said. But when, and why is it here? They found the archives in the station center. The room was the size of a cathedral, filled with machines that hummed with quiet. Power. Holographic displays showed star charts and battle formations and faces that looked almost familiar. Jake touched one of the control panels. The machine responded to his fingerprint, scanning him with lights that made him blink. Then a voice spoke. In perfect English. Welcome, descendants of the Terran Federation. You have been away for a long time. Elena felt her knees go weak. Terran Federation? Please wait while the archive system comes online. There is much you need to know. The air in the room shimmered. Suddenly, they were not alone. Holographic figures appeared around them, as real, as living people. Humans in uniforms Elena had never seen before. Humans who stood like they owned the galaxy. I am Admiral Kate Sullivan, said a woman with steel gray hair and eyes like winter storms. I commanded the Fifth Fleet during the Dractharian War. If you are seeing this, then our people have forgotten who they are. Another figure stepped forward. Captain Ryan Torres, 1st Marine Division. We were the ones who broke the siege of Altair Prime. More holograms appeared. Dozens of them, hundreds, all human. All wearing uniforms that spoke of victory and glory and power that Elena could not imagine. The year is 2387 by the old Earth calendar, Admiral Sullivan continued. If you are here, then our plan worked. Our people are alive, but they do not remember us. Elena found her voice. What plan? The hologram looked directly at her. The plan to save the galaxy from ourselves. The room changed around them. Now they stood on the bridge of a starship, watching a battle that made Elena's heart race. Human. Ships moved through space like dancers, their weapons cutting through alien fleets with deadly precision. And they were not alone. Dozens of alien species fought beside them, following human orders with absolute trust. We were not the strongest species in the galaxy, Admiral Sullivan said. We were not the smartest or the most advanced. But we had something no one else had. We could make any species trust us. Follow us, believe in us. Captain Torres picked up the story. It started small. A few battles where we convinced enemies to become allies. Then larger conflicts where entire species would switch sides, just to fight with us instead of against us. The battle scene changed. Now they watched human diplomats talking to alien leaders. Elena saw the alien faces change as they listened. Saw suspicion turn to respect, then to something that looked like worship. We were good at war, Admiral Sullivan said. Too good. We won every battle, conquered every enemy, united every species. Within 200 years, we ruled the galaxy. Not through force, but through loyalty. Every species wanted to serve under human leadership, but power corrupts, Torres said. Even the best intentions can turn dark. We saw what we were becoming, what our children might become. A species that ruled through inspiration could become a species that ruled through control. The scene changed again. Now they stood in a great hall where human leaders debated. Elena heard words like genetic manipulation and forced loyalty and slave species. She saw humans arguing about whether other species were really choosing to follow them or whether they had no choice. We realized we were too dangerous, Admiral Sullivan said. Our natural ability to inspire loyalty was becoming a weapon. If we continued, we would create a galaxy of slaves who thought they were free. So we made the hardest choice in human history, Torres said. We chose to step down. The scene shifted to show massive human fleets gathering around Earth. Elena watched in amazement as thousands of ships prepared for something that looked like the largest military operation in history. "We created the Galactic Council," Admiral Sullivan explained. "A temporary government to manage the galaxy while we found a solution. We told them we were going into stasis, but that was not the complete truth. We were going to make our people forget," Torres said. "Erase the memories of what we had been. Let our children grow up thinking we were just another species, weak, harmless, safe." Elena felt sick. "You erased our history?" "We saved your souls," Admiral Sullivan said. "And we saved the galaxy from what we might have become." The Council was supposed to manage things for a few hundred years while we figured out a better way. Instead, they got addicted to power. The hologram looked sad. They were supposed to wake us when the galaxy was ready for humans to return as equals, not masters. Instead, they buried the truth and kept you locked away. Jake stepped forward. "The genetic traces Dr. Thompson found." "What are they?" Captain Torres smiled. "Our mistake. We thought we could erase everything, but genetics do not lie. The warrior species still carry traces of human DNA because we bred with them, fought beside them, shared our blood in battle. And now?" Elena asked. "Now the galaxy is dying," Admiral Sullivan said. "The Council rules through fear instead of inspiration. Species that once worked together now fight endless wars. The unity we built is crumbling, and the Council." The first sign of trouble came when Ben's ship sensors started screaming warnings. Elena was still in the archive room, trying to understand the holographic controls, when Jake burst through the door. "We have company," he said. 12 ships. Council fleet. They found us." Elena felt her heart sink. The Council had been watching them. Of course they had. Humans were never allowed to go anywhere without permission. And now they were about to pay the price. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Maybe 10 minutes before they get here," Jake said. "Ben is trying to get our ship ready, but we are too slow. They will catch us." Dr. Lisa Thompson looked up from the alien computer she was studying. "Elena, I think I found something. This station is not just an archive. Look at these readings." The holographic display showed a map of the station. Most of it was dark, but several sections were glowing with power. Elena could see weapon systems, shield generators, and things she did not recognize but that looked dangerous. "The station has defenses," Lisa said, "but they are old. I do not know if they still work." Jake was already moving toward the door. Only one way to find out. Elena followed him through the corridors. The station seemed to sense their urgency. Lights came on faster, doors opened before they reached them, and guide arrows appeared on the walls showing them the way to the command center. The command center was huge, with windows that looked out into space. Elena could see the Council ships approaching. They were moving in formation, their weapons already charging. She recognized the lead ship. It belonged to Admiral Vexter of the Korthak Imperium, one of the Council's most feared commanders. "How do we work this?" Jake asked, staring at the control panels. Elena placed her hand on what looked like a main console. The station responded immediately, as if it had been waiting for a human touch. Screens came alive, showing weapon status, shield power, and tactical information. "Defense systems online," a computer voice said. "Weapons charging. Shields at 60%. "Welcome back, Commander," Elena blinked. "Commander? You are in the command position," the computer explained. "Therefore, you are the commander, awaiting orders." Elena looked at the approaching ships. They were close enough now that she could see their weapon ports opening. "Can we fight them?" "This station was built to defend against entire fleets," the computer said. 12 ships are not a significant threat." Elena felt a strange sensation, like something waking up inside her mind. She looked at the tactical display and suddenly understood it. The enemy ships were in a standard Council attack formation, but there was a weakness in their positioning. If she fired at the right moment, she could hit 3 ships with one shot. "Fire," she said. The station's weapons were unlike anything Elena had ever seen. Instead of simple energy beams, they shot something that looked like liquid lightning. The bolts reached out across space and struck the Council ships with devastating effect. The first shot disabled 3 ships instantly. The second shot destroyed 2 more. The remaining ships scattered, but they were too slow. Elena could see their movements before they made them, as if she was reading their minds. "Jake, take the secondary weapons," she said. "Lisa, handle the shields. Ben, get on communications." They moved to their positions without question. Elena realized she was giving orders like a natural commander, and her team was following them without hesitation. It felt right, like something she had been born to do. The battle lasted only minutes. The Council ships were fast and well armed, but they were no match for the ancient human station. Elena's tactical decisions were perfect, striking at exactly the right moments to cause maximum damage with minimum risk. When the last Council ship limped away, disabled but not destroyed, Elena felt a rush of satisfaction. Then she realized what she had done. She had just declared war on the Galactic Council. "Ben, open communications to Earth," she said. "All frequencies, emergency broadcast." Ben's fingers flew over the controls. "You are connected. Broadcasting to every human settlement in the solar system." Elena took a deep breath. What she was about to do would change everything. There would be no going back from this moment. "People of Earth," she began. "This is Ambassador Elena Rodriguez. I am speaking to you from the Nexus station at the edge of the galaxy. What I am about to tell you will sound impossible, but it is the truth." She activated the archive recordings. The holographic images of Admiral Sullivan and Captain Torres appeared on the transmission, along with footage of the ancient human fleets and the battles they had won. "We are not the weak species the Council told us we were," Elena said. "We are the descendants of the greatest warriors the galaxy has ever known. We ruled the stars once, and we gave up that power to protect others from what we might become." She showed them the genetic evidence Lisa had found, the proof that humans and alien warrior species had fought side by side for thousands of years. The records of victories and alliances that had been erased from history. "The Galactic Council has lied to us for 300 years, Elena continued. "They have kept us trapped in our own system because they fear what we might do if we remembered our true nature. But now we know. Now we remember." The transmission went out across the solar system. Elena could imagine the shock on Earth as millions of humans watched the evidence of their forgotten heritage. She could picture the questions, the disbelief, the anger, but she could also picture something else. The awakening. Reports started coming in within hours. On Earth, military historians were finding connections between the ancient tactics and strategies they had studied. Colonel Paul Davis sent a message saying that formations he had designed matched perfectly with battles shown in the archives. Dr. Amy Watson, Earth's leading physicist, reported that human technology had always been more advanced than alien equivalents, but humans had been conditioned to believe otherwise. The primitive human computers were actually more sophisticated than Council systems. More importantly, ordinary people were changing. Dock workers found themselves understanding alien languages they had never studied. Teachers began having dreams of commanding starships. Farmers discovered they could predict weather patterns across entire continents, but the most significant reports came from the hidden colonies. Elena had not known about them, but apparently humans had been placed in stasis chambers throughout the galaxy, sleeping for thousands of years. The broadcast signal was waking them up. A space station near Alpha Centauri came online after being abandoned for centuries. Its crew emerged from stasis pods with their memories intact, confused about why they had been sleeping for so long. A mining colony on the edge of Korthek, space suddenly activated defense systems that had been dormant for millennia. The miners, who had thought they were just civilians, began organizing into military units with skills they did not remember learning. A research outpost in the Zeltharian sector sent a message that made Elena's blood run cold. Commander Rodriguez, this is Captain Linda Foster of the Terran Science Division. We have been asleep for 4,000 years. Why did you wake us? What is the situation? Elena realized the scope of what was happening. Humans were not just remembering their past. They were physically awakening from stasis across the galaxy. The ancient plan had included backup measures, ways to bring their people back if the situation became desperate enough. Ben, how many signals are we receiving? She asked. Ben stared at his communication board. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Human. Colonies, stations, and ships are coming online all across the galaxy. Elena, how many of our people were out there? Elena did not have an answer, but she was beginning to understand that humanity's true population was much larger than anyone had imagined. The 3 billion humans in the solar system might be just a small fraction of their species. The Council's response came 12 hours later. Admiral Vexter's flagship returned with a much larger fleet. Elena counted over 50 ships representing a dozen different species, but they did not attack immediately. Instead, they held position and broadcast a message. Humans of the rebel station, came the Admiral's voice. You have committed acts of war against the Galactic Council. Surrender now, and your people will be allowed to return to their prison system. Resist, and we will destroy every human settlement in the galaxy. Elena looked at her team. Jake was studying the tactical display with the focused attention of a natural strategist. Lisa was analyzing the enemy fleet's weaknesses with scientific precision. Ben was coordinating communications with the awakening human colonies. What do we do? Jake asked. Elena felt that strange sensation again, like knowledge flowing into her mind from somewhere else. She understood now what the ancient humans had meant about their natural abilities. She could sense the loyalty and trust of her team. She could feel their willingness to follow her into battle, but she could also feel something else: doubt, fear, the knowledge that they were facing the same choice their ancestors had faced. The temptation to use their power for domination instead of protection. We fight, Elena said, but we do it the right way. We show the galaxy that humans can be trusted with power. She opened communications to the Council fleet. Admiral Vexter, this is Commander Elena Rodriguez of the Terran Federation. We are not rebels. We are free citizens of the galaxy, and we have the right to exist. The Admiral's response was, Supreme Chancellor Mordoon sat in his command chamber, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. Human colonies were awakening everywhere. Ships that had been sleeping for thousands of years were coming online. The nightmare he had spent his entire life trying to prevent was finally happening. The Chancellor was old, even by Zarian standards. His blue skin was wrinkled like ancient paper, and his 3 eyes moved independently as he read multiple reports at once. He had been in power for over 200 years, and he had dedicated every moment to keeping humanity contained. How many? He asked his aide, a nervous Korthak officer named Sub-Commander Thek. The reports keep coming in, Thek said. Over 3,000 human installations have activated. Ships, stations, colonies we never knew existed. Sir, there might be 50 million humans out there, maybe more. Morden closed all 3 eyes. 50 million humans with their natural leadership. Abilities could inspire half the galaxy to follow them. The carefully maintained balance of power would collapse within months. And worse, that continued, Some of our own species are beginning to remember. The Zeltharians are asking questions about their DNA. The Altarians want to know why they have human genetic markers. The warrior races are starting to wonder why they feel so drawn to human leadership. The Chancellor stood and walked to the great window of his command ship. Outside, the largest fleet in galactic history was assembling. Ships from every Council member world, representing dozens of species united by one common fear, the return of human dominance. "Sir," came another voice. Intelligence Chief Varak entered the chamber. "We have intercepted human communications. They are coordinating their awakening. Someone is leading them." "Who?" "Elena Rodriguez, the human ambassador. She has declared herself commander of something called the Terran Federation." Morden laughed, but there was no humor in it. The Terran Federation. They even remember the name. He turned to face his officers. "Activate the final protocol. Send a message to all Council worlds, full mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier." "Sir," Beck said carefully, "that will leave our home worlds defenseless." "Our home worlds will not matter if the humans regain control," Mordun replied. "This is not a war, Sub-Commander. This is an extermination." Within hours, the message went out across the galaxy. Supreme Chancellor Mordun announced that humanity had been harboring a genetic plague that made them dangerously unstable. He declared all human settlements a threat to the galactic peace and authorized immediate military action to cleanse the infection. The response was massive. 12 different species sent their entire fleets to join the Council Armada. The combined force represented over 2,000 ships, the largest military gathering in recorded history. They called it Operation Clean Slate, but Elena Rodriguez was not sitting idle. From her command position on Nexus Station, she was coordinating the human awakening with a skill that amazed even herself. The ancient command protocols were coming back to her naturally, as if she had been born to lead fleets across the galaxy. "Status report," she said to Jake, who had taken over tactical operations. "We have contact with 800 human installations," Jake replied. "Most are coming online smoothly, but some are having problems. The stasis systems on Outpost Gamma 7 failed. We lost 300 people." Elena felt each loss like a personal wound. These were her people, awakening after 4,000 years of sleep only to die because their equipment was too old. But there was no time to mourn. The Council fleet was moving toward Earth, and they had to be stopped. "What about our allies?" she asked. Dr. Lisa Thompson looked up from her communication station. "This is interesting. We are getting messages from non-human species, pirates, rebels, independent colonies. They want to join us. Why?" "They remember," Lisa said with wonder in her voice. "The older species still have stories about fighting alongside humans, about what it felt like to follow human commanders. They want that feeling back." Elena felt the truth of it. Even across the communication channels, she could sense the alien minds reaching out to her. They were not just offering military aid. They were offering loyalty, trust, the kind of absolute faith that had made the ancient Terran Federation so powerful and so dangerous. "Put me through to Captain Linda Foster," Elena said. Foster was commanding the awakened colony near Altair Prime, and she had 400 years of military experience from the old days. Foster's face appeared on the screen. She was younger than Elena had expected, maybe 35, with short blonde hair and the kind of eyes that had seen too many battles. "Commander Rodriguez, good to see a friendly face after all these years asleep. Captain, what is your assessment of our situation?" Foster smiled, and Elena saw the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. "We are outnumbered about 3-1, but that has never stopped us before. The Council ships are using tactics we developed thousands of years ago. They learned to fight by copying us, which means we know exactly what they will do. What do you recommend? Hit them where they do not expect it. They think we are still the same humans who went to sleep 4,000 years ago. They do not know we have been learning and growing, even in stasis. Our technology is better now. Our strategies are more advanced. Elena nodded. Prepare your forces for Operation Homecoming. Homecoming? We are going home, Captain. All of us. Together. Meanwhile, Admiral Sam Carter was having the strangest day of his life. Yesterday, he had been running cargo between Earth and Mars, complaining about shipping schedules and fuel costs. Today, he was commanding Earth's defense fleet and somehow knowing exactly what to do. The awakening had hit him harder than most. Memories that were not his own filled his mind. Battle strategies, command protocols, the feeling of leading fleets through hyperspace. He remembered fights he had never fought and victories he had never won. His second in command, Captain Terry Johnson, was equally confused. Sam, how do you know all this stuff? You were a cargo pilot yesterday. I do not know, Sam admitted. But look at this tactical display. See how the enemy is positioning their ships? They are going to try a pincer movement, but they are leaving their command ship exposed. If we hit it with a focus strike... You are right, Terry said, studying the formation. But how do you see that? Sam did not have an answer. He just knew. The same way he knew that if he gave the order to attack, every ship in the defense fleet would follow him without question. The same way he knew that even the alien species in the fleet would trust his leadership completely. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. All ships, this is Admiral Carter, he broadcast. The Council fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours. We are going to stop them here, at the edge of our solar system. Today, we show the galaxy that humans are not victims anymore. The response came from dozens of ships, human and alien voices speaking as one. Ready to follow you, Admiral. As the Council Armada approached Earth, something unexpected happened. Ships began breaking away from the fleet. First a few, then dozens, then entire squadrons. Species that had been part of the Council for centuries were switching sides. Supreme. Chancellor Mordoon watched in horror as his carefully assembled force began to dissolve. What is happening? He demanded. The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies, Chief Varrock reported. Not propaganda. Not threats. Just talking, explaining their history. Asking for understanding, and our allies are listening. Sir, Captain Zex Kara of the Zeltharian Battle Group just announced he is joining the humans. He says his genetic memory tells him that fighting alongside humans feels right. Morton felt his 3 hearts racing. This was exactly what he had feared. Humans did not need to conquer through force. They conquered through inspiration. They made other species want to follow them. Open a channel to all remaining ships, he ordered. Any captain who defects will be branded a traitor. Their homeworlds will be destroyed. But even as he spoke, more ships were leaving his fleet. The Altarian Heavy Cruiser Squadron. The Nexarian fighter wings, even some Korthak vessels were turning toward the human lines. By the time the Council fleet reached Earth's solar system, they were outnumbered. The humans had not just awakened their own forces. They had awakened something in dozens of other species. The memory of what it felt like to fight for something greater than themselves. Elena watched the approaching battle from Nexus Station. She could have stayed safe at the edge of the galaxy, but that was not what leaders did. She had ordered the station to jump to Earth, arriving just as the 2 fleets met. All human forces, she broadcast. This is Commander Rodriguez. Today we do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for revenge. We fight for the right to exist as free beings in a free galaxy. The battle began with a single shot from Chancellor Mordoon's flagship, aimed directly at Earth's capital city. But the shot never reached its target. Admiral Carter's defense fleet intercepted it. and the largest space battle in galactic history erupted across the solar system. Elena found herself commanding not just human ships, but vessels from a dozen different species. Zeltharian warriors fought beside human marines. Altarian pilots followed human tactical orders without question. Even former Council species were coordinating their attacks through human command structures. It was just like the ancient archives had shown. Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of Nexus Station, watching the largest space battle in galactic history unfold around Earth. Thousands of ships moved through space like deadly dancers, their weapons lighting up the darkness. But this was not just a battle between fleets. It was a battle for the soul of the galaxy. Admiral Sam Carter's tactical genius was turning the tide. His converted cargo ships moved like predators, striking at the Council fleet's weak points with precision that amazed even veteran commanders. Every move he made seemed perfect, as if he could see the future before it happened. "Jake, status." "Report," Elena said. "The Council fleet is breaking apart," Jake replied from his tactical station. "Half their ships have either been destroyed or switched sides. But Chancellor Mordun's command ship is still fighting." Elena could see the massive vessel on her display. It was 3 times larger than any other ship in the battle, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Mordun was making his final stand, and he was not going quietly. Captain Mike Johnson's voice came through the communication system. "Commander Rodriguez, we have the Chancellor's ship surrounded, requesting permission to finish him." Elena hesitated. It would be so easy to give the order. One word and the being who had oppressed humanity for centuries would be dead. The fleet commanders were waiting for her decision, ready to follow whatever order she gave. And that was exactly what Chancellor Mordun had warned her about. "Negative, Captain Johnson," Elena said. "Disable their weapons, but do not destroy the ship." "Ma'am, we are not conquerors, Captain. We are liberators." Instead of ordering the final attack, Elena opened a communication channel to the Chancellor's ship. "Mordun, this is Commander Rodriguez. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now, and we can end this without more bloodshed." The reply came filled with hatred and fear. "You expect me to believe you will show mercy? You are the same species that once ruled through terror." "No," Elena said. "We are not. That is what you never understood." She activated the station's main communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies across the galaxy. Every ship in the battle could hear her. Every planet, every space station, every species. "People of the galaxy," Elena began. "I am Elena Rodriguez, and I speak for all of humanity. Today, we revealed the truth about our past. We were once your rulers, your conquerors, your masters. We controlled your loyalty through abilities you could not resist." She paused, feeling the weight of billions of listeners. "But we were also the species that chose to give up that power. 4,000 years ago, our ancestors saw what they were becoming and made the hardest choice in history. They chose to step down rather than become tyrants." On his flagship, Chancellor Mordun listened with growing confusion. This was not what conquerors said. This was not how empires were born. "Today we face that same choice," Elena continued. "We could use our abilities to rule you again. Many of you are already willing to follow us, to trust us, to give us your loyalty, but we will not take it." Dr. Lisa Thompson looked up from her station with surprise. "Elena, what are you doing?" "What our ancestors should have done," Elena replied. "Instead of hiding from our nature, we are going to embrace it responsibly." She returned to her broadcast. "We propose a new kind of government for the galaxy. Not rule by force, not rule by fear, but partnership. The new Galactic Alliance will be led by representatives from every species, with humans serving as mediators and protectors." Admiral Carter's voice came through on a private channel. "Commander, are you sure about this? We have won. We could take control of everything. That is exactly why we should not, Elena replied. She continued her broadcast. We will not govern you. We will not make your decisions for you. But we will stand ready to help when you need us, to inspire when you have lost hope, to protect when you are threatened. Captain Linda Foster, commanding the forces near Altair, broke into the communication. Elena, this is madness. We have the power to create the greatest empire in galactic history, and that is exactly what we will not do, Elena said firmly. Power without restraint is tyranny. Leadership without choice is slavery. We offer partnership, not domination. Chancellor Mordun's voice came back over the communication channel, but now it sounded different, confused. You are refusing to take power? We are choosing to use power responsibly, Elena replied. There is a difference. The battle had stopped. Ships from both sides floated in space, their crews listening to the exchange. Elena could feel the moment when everything changed. The fear in alien minds was being replaced by something else. Hope, trust, not the forced loyalty that humans could inspire, but the genuine respect that had to be earned. All Council forces, Elena broadcast, you are free to return to your homeworlds. There will be no punishment for following orders, no revenge for past actions. But there will be no more oppression either. One by one, the remaining Council ships powered down their weapons. Even Mordun's massive command vessel went dark, its engines shutting off in surrender. Captain Terry Johnson's voice crackled through the communication system. Elena, we are getting reports from across the galaxy. Dozens of species are asking to join this new galactic alliance. They want to be part of whatever we are building. Elena felt the weight of their trust. These species were not being forced to follow humanity. They were choosing to work with them. That made all the difference. 6 months later, Elena stood in the Great Hall of the new Alliance headquarters, built in orbit around Earth. Representatives from over 50 species filled the chamber, debating trade agreements and defense treaties. Humans served as mediators when disputes arose, but they did not make the final decisions. Admiral Carter had become the head of Alliance security, commanding a fleet made up of ships from every member species. His tactical genius was now used to protect trade routes and respond to pirate attacks, not to conquer new worlds. Dr. Thompson led the Alliance Science Division, coordinating research projects that brought together the best minds from dozens of species. Her teams were making discoveries that no single species could have achieved alone. Jake Martinez commanded the Alliance Peacekeeping Corps, helping to resolve conflicts between worlds before they could turn into wars. His ability to inspire trust made him the perfect diplomat for difficult situations. But the most important change was in humanity itself. The awakening had not just restored their memories and abilities. It had given them a chance to choose what kind of species they wanted to be. Captain Ryan Torres, descendant of the legendary ancient commander, led training programs that taught young humans how to use their natural leadership abilities responsibly. Power is not about making others follow you, he would tell his students. It is about helping others become the best versions of themselves. Elena often thought about Chancellor Mordun, who was now living quietly on his home world. He had been wrong about humans, but he had also been right. Humanity's natural abilities did make them dangerous. The difference was that now they understood the danger and chose to guard against it. The galaxy was changing in ways that amazed everyone. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together on joint projects. Trade was flourishing. Wars were becoming rare. Not because humans forced peace, but because they helped others find reasons to cooperate. But the greatest change was in the stories, being told to children across the galaxy. Instead of tales about conquest and domination, they heard about the species that had chosen to give up unlimited power because they understood the responsibility that came with it. Elena stood at her office window, looking out at the ships of the Alliance fleet. Human vessels flew alongside Zeltharian cruisers and Altarian fighters. Former enemies worked together because they had found something worth fighting for together. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Elena activated her communication system and saw the face of a young human officer she did not recognize. Commander Rodriguez, this is Lieutenant Amy Wilson of the exploration ship Pioneer. We have made contact with a new species in the Outer Rim. They are asking about joining the Alliance. What did you tell them? Elena asked. I told them we would be happy to discuss it, but the choice would be theirs to make. Elena smiled. Good answer, Lieutenant. Send them our standard information package, but make sure they understand that membership in the Alliance is a partnership, not a surrender. Understood, ma'am. As the communication ended, Elena reflected on how far they had come. Humanity had been forbidden from fighting in galactic wars because other species feared their power. Now they were the galaxy's protectors, not because they demanded that role, but because others trusted them with it. The truth was finally out. Humans were not the weak species the Council had pretended they were, but they were also not the tyrants that Morden had feared they would become. They were something new, something better. They were a species that had learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. True strength comes not from the power to rule, but from the wisdom to serve. Elena Rodriguez, former ambassador of a species that had forgotten its power, now served as the first director of the new Galactic Alliance. But she knew that her greatest accomplishment was not the position she held, but the choice humanity had made. They had chosen to be guardians instead of conquerors, protectors.